Peace. Welcome back. Secret House on Cipher Divine. My name is Robinson Mega. They tell me that I should say like, subscribe, share, hit the like button for notifications and all these things. Tokyo-based hip-hop conversations. Odd Cipher Divine is a little bit different than Secret House. Secret House is me, Jet, and L Spade, but Odd Cipher Divine, I usually have people coming here who are fans of hip-hop music from different places. Today I got my man, Tokyo Cliff of the Tokyo Speaks podcast. He's from Brooklyn. He's a hip-hop head. He enjoys things. He enjoys music. And today he and I are going to be talking about the new Ka album, A Martyrs Reward. Beats in the background, I'm not sure who the beats are. I think that last one was Devin Who. But yeah, I'm just going to let him rock and don't pay too much attention to that. Hopefully I don't get demonetized off this shit because I didn't pay attention at all. But yo, A Martyrs Reward, it's the newest project from Ka, Brownsville, New York. Brooklyn Emcee, Ka, who has an absolutely infamous track record of making these gutter albums with the highest tier level of lyricism. His new album, A Martyrs Reward, is coming off the back of his last joint from last year, which was The Descendants of Cain. He is known for crafting high-level conceptual albums about chess, Bushido, Greek mythology, and Descendants of Cain has a lot of allegorical lyrics that relate to the Bible. This album, A Martyrs Reward, we only just got it. We only just got it. And with an MC like Ka, I feel like you got to listen to him a lot to really unpackage it. But so far, it seems like this is less allegorically heavy in his traditional fashion. And it's just fucking another feather in the cap of him. Before we get into the details of our thoughts on the album, let's give a shout out to Asahi for sponsoring this podcast with a little bit of alcoholism. I'm gonna make this, in fact, because it's calm, I'm gonna go ahead and make this video review black and white starting. Oh, you can't hear me now. All right, so now we got a black and white monochromatic. Let's talk a little bit about Ka. How familiar are you with Ka? I didn't let you talk at all during the intro. My bad.
No, it's all good. I'm chilling. I'm always, when I come here, I'm always just enjoying the vibes. I don't even really need to talk that much, to be honest with you. But Ka, once again, as I've mentioned before,
on the Boldy joint that we just
Boldy joint.
He also been on my podcast mad times, so you know what I mean.
I learned about Ka from this guy. You know what I mean? So, and I'm gonna tell you the interesting part about this, and I think I've mentioned it to you privately. I'm from Brooklyn, right? Ka's from Brooklyn. Ka's from Brownsville. I'm from East New York originally. My father's from Brownsville, actually. This dude always introduces me to Brooklyn rappers that I don't know about.
It's intentional. I was just putting you on the Cavalier right now. Yeah, it's intentional. It's intentional. Now, he's one of those under the radar type of MCs, though. Like a lot of cats, especially like even from your background, a lot of cats when it comes to hip hop culture, most of it is kind of, they were fans of the music for what happened in their communities when they heard it, and also for, Source Magazine and Vibe and Blaze Magazine and what happened on the radio. So a lot of cats who are in our age group who is hip hop heads and love more conventional boom bap style rap from New York are not really going to be up to date when it comes to cats like your Rock Marcy's or so many. They might not even know about Sean Price, rest in peace. But these are cats who are a little bit more underground. They never really got any. They never peaked above. And Ka has been putting it down for a long time. In fact, the first time that I heard Ka, and there would be a big kind of a lot of space between when I follow back up, but was off of the Genius album. Maybe it was Pro Tools. But the song was called Firehouse, and I was like, yo, and it don't got Jizza on the track at all, right? It's just like a Ka track put on the album, and I was like, yo, whoever that is, that's dope. And then several years later, I would start, hearing, I think around Grief Pedigree is when I first started getting into traction. Maybe it was a knife. Yeah, it was around. Actually, it was Grief Pedigree where I was like, they were like, this is Ka. This is the cat that was on that Genius track, that Jizza track. And that's when I was like, oh, this is dope. And then from there on, you know, I listened to him. I listened to Rock Marcy. I always felt that they were kind of the torch bearers for this very kind of minimal aesthetic that's really popular in hip hop now. Drumless, single loop, very, very hard emphasis on lyricism and vocals. And I kind of felt like him and Rock Marcy are the godfathers of that. But Ka is a little bit different in the amount and how dense his lyrics are, and kind of also generally I feel like Ka's subject matter is much different than Rock Marcy's. While they connect on a street level and a New York level in a bygone era this long past about New York, Ka is not rapping about pimp shit.
Yeah,
he's not rapping
drugs,
about street shit in the same way.
In the same way.
In the same way.
Yeah.
So you know, like to be honest, like I like Ka and I respect the craftsmanship. And it's impossible to not listen to him and think that he's one of the best. Like he never ever has a useless bar.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I was going to say that he never takes a bar off. It's like it's always substance and
a lot of cats got filler bars.
Yeah,
but not Ka.
Yeah,
and he's one of the best to do it. But I've also had a hard time connecting with a lot of his discography because his vocal tone, the density of it. And also some of the production choices. So his more newer stuff, you know, the Orpheus versus Sirens, Descendants of Cain, those have been a little bit more difficult for me to connect with just because of just kind of the sound of it and how dense they are. When I listen to it, it's like Ka is like an MC who is making audio books for a library in a bomb shelter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like super dense.
Yeah.
Now, and it's very monochromatic most of the time. It's almost like there's no joy on this album.
Yeah, definitely.
There's absolutely no joy.
Definitely,
you know what I mean?
definitely.
Even though some of the shit he's saying, like, I did it, I came out of it, you know what I mean? I'm lifting people up. There's no joy.
Yeah.
None of the tracks is like, I feel good about that, Kai. So usually it's like, damn.
Yeah.
But that said, man, this is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It's a masterpiece. We had a week to listen to the shit, and every song that... If you want to talk about lyrics, you can almost just pick up any lyric from this.
Yeah.
Any verse.
Yeah,
any verse, you can find a line that's just like, what? Who can possibly put together something like this? Cops got us under a microscope to make sure we sells.
That was my boy.
No, my first vitamin was iron, but I just wanted to B12.
Word. That was crazy.
It's not, he don't even put an emphasis on it like I did. It just goes. And then it flows into something else. And it flows into something greater. This project, man, is so good.
The same track, he was like, with the belt or a bullet is how I was taught things. It was on every summer. If you're wondering why I ain't want offsprings. Like that's just
too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too dense. Like you know, I know the fan base of Ka, like the main fan base, the people that love him. This is an album of the year. Yeah. And there's no question about it being an album of the year to these people, because if you're basing your critique and enjoyment of music on content and construction,
substance,
like the substance of what he's talking about and the execution, it doesn't really get any better than this. It doesn't really get any better than this.
Yeah.
I had a hard time listening to this album, to be honest with you, and it's not because it's not good. It's not because I don't like it, but it's because like it is very monochromatic.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to this shit and I'm just like, yo, it's Wednesday. Like I'm not trying to, damn. Like you was a fireman, you know, it was difficult for you at this point in your life, and but it very is a almost dire and kind of a difficult listen, man.
And that's something, you know, I think that's a good point that you're making, because, and it's something that is a point that I didn't really see it from, because it's like, I'm always kind of like, all right, this is the lane that they're in, and this is what they do. You know, even when we talked about Bodie, that's the lane he's in, coke rap, drug rap. And I'm just always wondering, should this artist be more versatile? Should he have a different vibe for different tracks? Or if they just want to stay in one lane.
I mean, it must speak to his authenticity of character, because he's talking. Ka is almost 50 years old, which is something I found out just recently. He's like 48 years old.
Okay.
And so he comes from this era of, street savvy cats who probably didn't think they would make it this old, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of his album is street wisdom.
Yeah.
Most of this album is street wisdom. It's cautionary tales. It's literature.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes from the perspective of a person who is like, for the people that don't know, I'm mega, and I've been mega since I was about 15 when I became born God. I used to be God body, through my father. And I'm a black Filipino human being, black Seminole Filipino human being. And I was really following a lot of these cats who were using a lot of the God body language in their raps, like Woo, and a lot of cats like Lord Jamar and cats who spoke to me about kind of how imperative it was that we were intellectual and academics. Ka is one of the few cats who seems to be cut from that cloth. And a lot of the things he says, he's talking about the mathematics. A lot of things he says are not things that you pick up from cats who were used to be God bodies, because a lot of cats fall off like that. Ka is exactly the type of MC who never wavered, right? He maintained those teachings. He maintained this direct form of ethics that he picked up through hip hop, through his culture in Brownsville, and maintain it. So now you have this is grown folks rap music, dog. This is not for a 21-year-old who has no life experiences. They listen to it, you sound like somebody's reading an audiobook. But for me, I listen to Ka and I'm like, this is for God bodies who are on their deen. These are for cats, the Muslim cats, the cats who still gangster as fuck, but they not out there trying to pretend to be gangster. And a lot of the shit he's talking about on this album speaks to that wisdom. It speaks to growth of character. And it also is one of the reasons why I enjoy this album a little bit more than his other joints. It's not allegorically heavy. It's more introspective and personal, I feel, than his other joints, even though it always comes through in his work. But the other joints, you like, wait, hold on. This he talking about lines about, the Greek mythology. Like, I got to pick it apart from that. This is a little bit more direct.
Yeah, it is.
And this is ill for that reason in particular.
Shout out to my good friend Mo. He's out there in Houston, but he originally from Brooklyn, East New York, and I put him on the car recently, and like I kind of like what I told you before we started recording is, you can be from Brooklyn and from the same area as Ka, but not even know a Ka, because a lot of us are just kind of, we gravitate more to this certain kind of hip hop, which is, I guess, is maybe you might say mainstream hip hop,
right?
And somebody like Ka is just like, okay, who? And when I told him, he's like, Ka, he's like, who is that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
what kind of name is Ka?
He's been in Brooklyn all his life, so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he moved.
He's an interesting character, man. I mean, like all the things I said, he was also a firefighter, a 9/11 responder, where he talks about in some of the lines on this joint, with all my heart. Yeah, he talks about being a 9/11 responder, and he's got flack for that in the past, like you can't be a firefighter or some shit. But really, man.
But honestly though, when I heard that bar though,
it's so New York. You know what I mean?
It's New York, but it was like. How I took that bar was like, oh, this is kind of dope, because it's like most rappers coming out of Brooklyn or just anywhere, it's more of the like the braggadocious. I live this street life, so bust my gun, sold drugs, had all these chicks and all that. But he's saying, yo, I was a firefighter. In 9/11,
right,
and I'm rapping,
right,
and I'm rapping about it. Like,
it's pretty crazy. He's like a fire chief now. And shit.
It's like
he's main
he's
number
kind
one
of like
cat.
a regular. I mean, rap. A lot of rap dudes are regular person.
Right.
We all.
This is working class rap, though. He's a working class MC.
I guess that's the best way to put it. He's a
working class rap. There's no allusions to him being like overly wealthy or projecting any type of status. Like he never really projects that at all in any of these tracks. The things that he focuses on is like his priorities, uplifting community. He also critiques some things that he's sour about in the culture. Track number 2, I Need All That.
That was dope.
He talks about, he wants a cornrow back. He wants these things back because, I mean, just like on Sky Zoo's album, Sky Zoo is critiquing the gentrification, the changing of this entire area that is formative to him as a human being. And Ka kind of does the same thing on a lot of these tracks too. Yeah. A lot of times with a different critique and also pointing the finger at a different group of people. But this is working class grown man rap type of shit that is such a unique perspective, but it shouldn't be. But it's unique because so many of the other MCs who would be a part of his class and his peers are fucking fronting. Yeah, and Ka just doesn't do that. It's dope, man. Like I know most of the shit that we talking about in terms of our critique of the album are more general about Ka, and I would like to focus on some of the tracks. In particular, I say particular like 3 times on this shit, but take a shot every time I say particular. Mm-hmm. But anyways, man, like there's a couple of joints on this. I did make some notes on the tracks. Mm-hmm. I didn't pick out a lot of lyrics because I felt like I could just open up Genius right now and tell you some of the lyrics. And I did enjoy a lot of these, but it's almost overwhelming how many dope bars there are in this shit.
Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that.
So like for me, it came down kind of like to the tracks. And one of the things I've also said is a little bit monochrome. Ka produced most of these tracks, all but 2. 12 of these tracks is all him. And then he's got one produced by Navy Blue. And then the other one is track number, it's the one right after, and that's produced by Perseverance. And he's also done a whole album with Perseverance before. But Ka's production does make this sound a certain way. And a lot of these songs kind of sound a certain way. I didn't enjoy it for the summer. This is something I probably need to like drink a beer and smoke a cigarette in the dark or some shit. You know what I mean? Like really brood and figure out my whole life. But there's a few here like Sad to Say is a little bit more upbeat than some of the tracks on there. A little bit the closest maybe we get to Joy. Peace is also a little faster with his delivery because he does tend to come across as an orator. Like orating lyrics from stone tablets more than he is like rapping bars in the way that we would think would come from this class.
I agree, yeah.
And Rock does that shit too a little bit. Yeah. But man, like, yo, my favorite tracks. Let me just jump to that. My favorite track is the Navy Blue track. Oh, and maybe it's because I'm a huge fan of Navy Blue, but the production is a nice change of pace to me that I think stands out. I mean, the 2 tracks not produced by him stand out immediately in my attention. But yo,
I like
Live
the,
in Martyrs.
I know this joint.
Oh, okay, that's the one he came out with the music video for too. There's a music video for that. Yo, I want to know where I can get that shirt at that got like it's that traditional style that just got the names of, you know what I mean? It'd be like Biggie, Tupac, you know what I mean? Oh. And then it's just black with but it's all the titles of his albums. Gotcha. But it's just like Grief, Yenlo. It's like, you know what I mean? Gambit. Yo, I want that shirt. I need to find that shirt. Maybe I need to just check the Kyle website. But I know this is dope.
Trying to I think it was some bars.
While you looking at that, let me go ahead and tell you about a bar that I like off of We Livin'. Dumb Nice. Some nights I won fights for my rights with a jab. That's not even a complete bar. Right? But some nights I won fights for my rights with a jab. He's just so ill. It's so many of those style bars. Not a sex villain raised to respect women.
Yo, when he said that, I was like, oh, this nigga different.
It is, and it's important. It's important to have that perspective because, we in contrast, Ka and Bodie dropped on the same day. Mm-hmm. That Bodie album is not wholesome at all, dog. That Bodie album is a villainous album. That's a motherfucker who's trapping, selling drugs, living a hard street life with no remorse about the effects of those actions outside of how much money it's making him and how dope he is at both of them. In contrast, this Ka album is extremely grown. Yeah. It's adult. You don't get no F slurs in this shit either. Like Ka is a 48-year-old man.
You know what?
Present.
I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice that he didn't didn't really use a lot of profanity.
Dog, and not to say it's wholesome, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're talking about punching somebody in the face. Maybe that is wholesome. I agree with that, actually. You know what I mean? But it is a wholly different approach to the content that you normally would get. And there needs to be something said about who Ka is as a person and the authenticity and the integrity of this there. This album, what I like about it a lot is that there's no allusions to Greek mythology. There's no biblical bullshit. This is Ka just being like, by the way, I've got a problem with this. By the way, I don't do that because it's important to uplift the community to me. And feel the way that you might about the way it sounds. One thing is for sure is that there's integrity here, and there's fucking the highest level bars here.
Yes. You know, and yeah, I think you already went over this bar, but I thought it was so dope when he was like, you know, cops got us under microscope to make sure we see cells. Like that right there is just.
See, the way I said it earlier didn't even put the emphasis on it the same way.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy.
Said, no, my first vitamin was iron, but I just want B12. He said, ain't dwell by the seashore, but I was sure to see shells. Woo! You know what I'm saying? Like,
what can you say?
Yeah.
I mean, pull up the lyrics on Rap Genius or on it's just Genius Sound. Pull up the lyrics on Genius and just like read along with it, man. I'm telling you, this cat is really his music. It's like it's literature from you know, post-apocalypse. It sounds like he's in the gutter with the Punisher.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
word.
Plotting his next shit. But none of it is really about that. None of it. This is like a war. This is a war journal.
Yeah,
this is the war torn. Like this is an aging, fucking savage. Like, you know, he's gone and he's licked his wounds and he's fine and he's patched himself up, and all he's got to say now is just like fucking a little bit of perspective for the youth. And that's one of the greatest things about it. I listen to it and it makes me happy to see that one of the reasons I got out of being God body, there's a variety of reasons, right? Of course, I started reading more philosophy and Marxism and all these things that make me who I am today. But one of the things that I found about when I was rocking with a lot of God bodies back in the day is that a lot of God bodies want to be righteous, but a lot of God bodies ain't righteous. Gotcha. A lot of God bodies didn't read literature. They wasn't on a dean. It was they liked the idea of calling themselves God and using the language. And this is how I feel about Lord Jamar too. I don't think that man reads books, to be honest with you. And it's a little bit embarrassing for me. But with a person like Ka, I respect his position and respect who he is. There's an integrity there. There's a smartness there. There's no goofy shit. He's not a goofy. Not a goofy at all. And I look at you know, agent gangsters that I know, and I'm not a gangster. I'm a civilian by all accounts. Of course, there's goon maneuvers, but I'm a civilian by all accounts. But my proximity to cats that was doing crime and doing deeds, it was close. It's family, and my nephew, who's 4 years younger than me, 34 years old, is already on this type of mentality. And if you survive long enough and you don't adopt this mentality, you a goofy. And Ka is the furthest thing from a goofy when it comes to this experience. He's dope, dog. I fucking love this.
You know,
album.
You brought up a good point. You were saying how this is more, this album is pretty, like, it's more straightforward. It's more he didn't get into like a lot of deep intellectual stuff. It was just
you didn't have to look at the citations to figure out who the fuck, you know what I mean, like the Kraken was and shit.
Like this one verse. I'm gonna hit you with this last verse that I took note of. He was like, I'm from an area where people died to rap. That's why I only speak my regional dialect. Earn salutes from the troops, can't buy respect. Speaking noise, either you poison or the side effect. He said, once I'm disgusted, there's no discussion. When I bring the drums out, it's a whole production. Like,
yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just it's like,
look,
it's simple, but it's like the bars,
so
the wordplay
eloquent.
is crazy. It's eloquent, like you said.
It's like my man is writing like sonnets. Like my man is writing real Shakespearean poetry. This is the highest. You know, there's a lot of ways to rap really well.
Yeah.
A whole lot of Earl raps. His new shit is beautiful and rap really well. A$AP Rock or Jay-Z, all these cats rap really well. But what Ka is doing is really just, he's his own animal.
Yeah.
He's a mythical being at this point. Like, the man hasn't dropped the ball on his work and his pen game in ever.
Yeah.
And despite me having a difficult time being a part of this album right now,
Yeah.
like, I honestly don't go back to a lot of Ka stuff, but what I see it for what it is it's fucking great. Like, it's incredible. It's heavy. It's meaningful and it's dense. And summer is not the best time for me to rock with this album right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I could see myself soon as the skies get hella gray to really be rocking with this a little bit more. In the meantime, I'm still listening to Gumbo. I'm still listening to Van Gogh's Left Ear. A little bit more hype summer joints, but it's a weird time to drop this album. But man, like, Ka and Boldy on the same day is some real dire, dense, dark, fucking unsummer type of shit.
You know, it's something to be said for that. I want to ask you your opinion. So, like, you know, I was talking to, you know, shout out to my homie Mo once again. Like, we was talking about this because, you know, he's a big Hov fan and, you know, Nas and all that. And, you know, one of the issues I have with, like, I don't really like to talk about who's the best. That's been me because it's like, what's the criteria?
Right.
Right.
There's no objective.
Yeah, there's no objective criteria.
Way
Is
of
it
actually
record
judging.
sales?
We can get towards objectivity, but it's
is it
it's
bars?
yeah,
is it popularity? Like, what is it? So, you know, one of the things he said about, you know, I basically just kind of like, just to get his attention, I was like, oh yeah, this nigga Ka, yeah, he can fuck with Hov, right?
Yeah.
And then he came back
with
at
lyrics,
me like,
sure.
he was like, oh, well, you know, Hov is more versatile. And I'm like, I get it, but
Ka don't got a girls or fucking
exactly
H to the Izzo.
But at the same time, he's not trying. I don't think he's even attempted to make that type of music. So how do you compare a Ka to a Hov, or you know, or do you have to just say, okay, well, I can compare Nas to Hov because they in the same lane, right? But you can't really compare Ka to a Hov,
right?
You know what I mean? You have to put somebody who's in that lane.
I personally think that those arguments are like, first off, it's like that ninth element of hip hop to have that conversation, right? Like, everybody must do it. Yeah. But you know, with 45 years over 45 years of hip hop culture, and all the people who have impacted things and changed things and made things, there's just really no way to have that conversation without doing an injustice to the work that somebody else has done.
Yeah.
Like, look, if you have a conversation about what Drake does and what LL Cool J has done, like, you can get towards an objective criteria and why both of them are good at what they do and shit, but you, like, the material conditions that what LL came up in is mad different what Drake came up in, and what they're trying to do is accomplishing different things, and the impact of each is rippled in different ways. There's no there's no way that you get to the bottom of it.
Yeah.
There's no way to
Basically.
like if I had to say somebody is the greatest based upon like all the hot pop culture shit, I probably would say Jay, just because the longevity, the career, the eloquence, the ability, the albums and such. But is Jay even in my top 10 favorite MCs? Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not Jay's probably not in my top 20 favorite, but because I'm an underground head that's been bubbling with Freestyle Fellowship since 97. Like, that's the culture I come from. And so I just, you know, Ka is also not a person that I would ever expect anybody who says Nas is their favorite MC to really be like, like, you know, I like Nas number 1, Ka number 2. It's a weird thing. Yeah. It's a weird thing. I would recommend, and let's transition. Let's end this up because we've been going for a minute. I would recommend this album to guy bodies who are still on their dean. I would recommend this to my cats who, like you know, my cousin Randy who went to jail, got out, Nation of Islam. He would like this. Like, it just speaks to a more older sensibility. It speaks to a sensibility that also likes construction of rhymes and appreciates the usage and masterful language that Ka puts together. I would recommend it to people like that. I would not recommend this to a J. Cole fan. I would not recommend this even to a Kendrick Lamar fan. But if they were to listen to this and they couldn't pick out like what makes this dope, I would just tell them to stop listening to hip hop music. This is some of the best possible usage of the English language in the history of language. Like, he's amazing. So fucking figure it out.
Word.
You got anything to say about it? Shit? Like, we both love the albums. If I had to give it a number, I'll probably give it an 8. Like, it doesn't get better than this. I don't love it because it's fucking summertime and Ka is making me sad about things. But it's a fucking 8. It's a great, incredible album.
I can rock with 7 or 8, you know, depending on the day.
Yeah. I do enjoy this more than I do a couple of his other albums. Yeah. You know, I Grief Pedigree is still probably my favorite, but...
And I still haven't listened to that. I'm going to go check that out.
Peep that. A Nice Gambit. He's dope, man. He's crazy. Ka, A Martyrs Reward, 2021.
Shout out to Ka. Shout out to Brownsville, Brooklyn. Shout out to East New York, you know.
Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe bell thingamabob. You know what I mean? Follow. Go check out my Mega Late Show episodes. I do have several episodes in studio, not on video, but with some of the best people that's ever done hip hop. Marley Marl was sitting right here playing with these turntables. Jansport J was in here last year. We got the coronavirus happening right now, so nobody's on video, but we'll be back. Secret House.
Yeah.